So last time we did the subject of Dhyan Yoga, and today we will begin the discussion on the subject of Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, the central 12 chapters, which would be the heart of the Gita, is all about devotion. And the 12th chapter, which begins this, starts by Arjun asking Krishna, एवं सतत युक्ता ये भक्तस्त्वं पर्युपासते ये चाप्य अक्षरम अव्यक्तम तेषाम के योग वित्तमः. Arjun asked the Supreme Lord, who is considered to be more intimately united with you? Those who are engaged in your personal devotional service, those who are engaged in your bhakti, or those who worship you in the form of the impersonal, absolute, inconceivable aspect? It's a very important question because bhakti begins with accepting God as Krishna. After the Bhagavad Gita, many people have come up with the idea of Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti. But all these are merely stretching the term Bhakti to what was never intended by the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna. And what does Lord Krishna say when he is asked, who is more intimately united with you? Is it one who's engaged in your personal bhakti or bhakti of your personal form? Or is it the worship of the impersonal, inconceivable, all-pervading absolute? So Krishna replies to Arjuna and he says, Mai aveshya manoye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetas te me yuktatmo matah. The Supreme Lord said, he who is fixed on my personal form of Krishna, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, such a devotee is most intimately united with me. So Krishna gives the answer very clearly, no to Nirguna and yes to Saguna. So please do not get confused about this ever again. He also says in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, 5th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Kleshodhiktarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad bhiravapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal features of the Supreme, the path is full of sorrow. To make progress is very difficult for those who are embodied. So, klesh means to have sorrows, to have difficulties. And he says, Klesho diktaras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. So those who are attached to worshipping God without form as the inconceivable, absolute, all-pervading, non-manifest, avyakta, they will find avyakta hi gatir dukkham. The path of the worshipping the unmanifest is a path of dukkham, of sorrow, for those who are within the body. So all of those who are within their bodies, that is all of us, it's very difficult and sorrowful to try to worship God without form. Therefore, I would like to stress and I would like to clearly declare right at the beginning of the section on bhakti that bhakti means worshipping Krishna with form. There is only one bhakti, and that is Krishna bhakti. All other forms of bhakti are all perversions, extensions, elaborations, which have no foundation in scripture. So all forms of bhakti are Krishna bhakti. And here in the Bhagavad Gita, very clearly, Krishna bhakti is recommended above the worship of the Lord in the unmanifest, impersonal, inconceivable form. This is very, very important. If we do not accept this, we cannot go ahead on the path of Bhakti Yoga. So what does Krishna mean by one who is engaged in Bhakti? Krishna declares in the 6th and 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparah ananyaneva yogena mam dhyayantu pasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu sansar sagarat bhavami na chirat partha may aveshita chetasam. For one who worships me, dedicating all his activities unto me, being devoted to me, renouncing attachment to everything else, always meditating upon me, having fixed his mind upon me. For such a person, I swiftly deliver him from this ocean of birth and death. And Krishna says, Mai eva mana adhatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivashishyase mai eva ata urdhvam na samshayah. Fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Engage all your intelligence in me, and you will always live within me without any doubt. So, Krishna is very, very, very clear. Then he says, for those who cannot fix their minds upon me without any interruption or devotion, what do they do? Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mayi stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjun, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, without interruption, then follow the principles of Abhyas Yoga. What is Abhyas Yoga? Abhyas Yoga is that discipline by which you fix your mind upon Krishna as if you are engaged in bhakti. And in this way, you will develop a desire to attain me. So now we see the difference between bhakti and bhakti yoga. Bhakti is pure, unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. And bhakti yoga is following the principles of a discipline that makes it a habit to remember God, that makes it a discipline to remember God, which makes it both a science and an art of constantly fixing your mind upon the Lord, even though you have no bhakti, which I would say accounts for most of us. So, bhakti is to have pure, unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna, and bhakti yoga is to imitate that pure bhakti. You imitate that pure bhakti as a discipline. And when you imitate that pure bhakti as a discipline under the guidance of a teacher, that discipline of bhakti yoga will eventually take you to pure bhakti. So be clear in your mind what is bhakti and what is bhakti yoga. Bhakti is pure, unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. Bhakti yoga is imitative bhakti, as imitation of bhakti, as a discipline under the guidance of a teacher until you rise to the platform of bhakti, pure bhakti. So bhakti yoga is separate, bhakti is separate. Bhakti yoga takes you to pure bhakti. And somewhere along the way between bhakti yoga and pure bhakti, which is also known as para bhakti, you will cross over, you will transition, you will go through what we know as the realization of Brahman. So this is another important point I'd like to illustrate here, that moksha, which is the realization of Brahman, is not the end, it is not the conclusion. Brahman is, in fact, the beginning of your spiritual life. It is the beginning of your real spiritual life. Until you attain Brahmabhut, until then, you are nowhere near the platform of bhakti. When you attain Brahmabhut, then you become qualified to be engaged in bhakti. It is clearly declared by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. When he is asked by Arjun in chapter 14, verse 21, how do we recognize one who is gunatita, who is transcendent to Prakriti, who has risen above Prakriti, who is on the platform of Brahmabhut? What is his behavior? How does he transcend Prakriti? How does he get fixed on that platform of pure spirit, which is known as Brahmabhut? And Krishna explains in chapter 14, verse 26, very clearly, Mam chayo avhyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahmabhuya kalpate. One who without interruption, one who without any deviation, one who without any distraction, one who without falling back into material consciousness engages in bhakti yoga. bhakti yogena sevate. Such a person transcends Prakriti, Sagunan Samatityetan, and he becomes elevated to the Brahman platform. Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. So, very clearly, Bhakti Yoga is the means to attain Bhakti. If you have Bhakti, you have got the goal. If you don't have Bhakti, then engage in Bhakti Yoga, because engaging in imitation of Bhakti as a discipline under the guidance of a spiritual teacher, you will ultimately attain to pure bhakti or parabhakti. That is described in 14.26. Mam chayo avhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuya kalpate. And then what happens to one who has attained Brahmabhut? What happens to one who has attained Brahmabhut? For one who has attained Brahmabhut, Krishna elaborates and says, Brahmabhut prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim lavate param. Very clearly it declares, Krishna says in the 18th chapter, 54th verse, Brahmabhut prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is situated on the platform of Brahman never laments, has no sorrow, never desires, doesn't hanker for anything. He is equally disposed towards all living entities. In that state, Krishna says, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. So in the 12th chapter, Krishna declares very clearly that you should engage in bhakti. And if you engage in bhakti, I will lift you from this cycle of birth and death. And then he says, if you cannot engage in bhakti, in 12.9, Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram abhyas yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. Even if you cannot fix your mind upon me, even if you, shall I say, do not have any faith in Krishna, you do not believe Krishna is God, even then, you do not believe Krishna is God, you cannot fix your mind upon Krishna. If you follow as a discipline the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga as a discipline under the guidance of a teacher, you will not just attain, not just get a desire to attain Krishna, but as Krishna says very clearly, you will also transcend. If you can stick to this Bhakti Yoga without interruption, then in 14.26, Krishna explains that you will now transcend Prakriti, Sagunan Samatityetan, and you will be situated on the platform of Brahmabhuta. So through Bhakti Yogena Sevate, and Bhakti Yogena is imitation of Bhakti, not casually, not whimsically, not when you feel like it, but Bhakti Yoga means Bhakti, imitation of Bhakti as a discipline. It is the strictest form of discipline, and yet it is the easiest to follow for those who are sincere. And when you engage in this form of Bhakti Yoga, imitation of Bhakti as a discipline under the guidance of a teacher, not according to your own whim and fancy, then you will transcend the gunas, you will transcend Prakriti, and you will be situated on the platform of Brahma Bhut. So says 14.26. Krishna recommends Bhakti Yoga in 12.9. He clearly indicates that through Bhakti Yoga you can attain Brahma Bhut, which is in 14.26. And finally, in 18.54, Krishna says that when you are situated on the platform of Brahma Bhut, you will be having no more sorrow, no more desires, and thus seeing all living entities with equal vision, you will attain pure bhakti, para bhakti of me. And then what happens to one who attains para bhakti? What is the result of a person who has attained para bhakti? Krishna explains in 18.55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tadanantaram. You can achieve me only through bhakti. And when you are in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord, through this pure para bhakti, you will enter into the kingdom of God. So Krishna says, you can know me as I am only through para bhakti. And through para bhakti, knowing the absolute truth, you will enter into my being from where there is no return. So what is the path? The path recommended is para bhakti. Because it is not accessible to all of us. To reach para bhakti, we engage in bhakti yoga. And bhakti yoga, again I am defining for you what is bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the imitation of para bhakti as a discipline under the guidance of a spiritual teacher. And if you engage in this undeviatedly, undistractedly, then you will rise beyond Prakriti, you will rise beyond the gunas, and you will reach the platform of Parabhakti. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. And when you attain Parabhakti, you will know the Lord. You will understand the Lord. You will enter into His being from where there is no return. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gnatva vishatre tadanantaram. So Krishna explains, you can know me only through bhakti. Elsewhere Krishna has said, Naham veder na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. Very clearly Krishna says, Naham veder na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. You cannot know me through study of the scripture. Don't think that by studying the Vedas you will know me. He says, Naham veder na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. This you will find in chapter 11, text 53. You cannot know me through studying the Vedas. You cannot know me by performing great serious penances and austerities. You cannot know me by giving in charity. You cannot know me by performing ritual worship. Then how shall we know you? That again is said, repeated by Krishna in the 11th chapter, 54th verse. Bhaktyatva ananya shakya aham evam vido arjuna. Jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. It is only by undivided, undistracted bhakti can I be understood as I am and seen and experienced directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. It is only through bhakti. Bhaktyatva ananya shakya. Aham evam vido Arjuna. 11.54. So, my friends, it's very simple. Bhakti is the goal. Brahma Bhut is where the path of bhakti begins. Because the path of bhakti is eternal. And it is through the path of pure bhakti that you can enter into Krishna's being from where there is no return. So if you have not attained bhakti, if you have not attained moksha, then bhakti is denied to you. But if you want to attain bhakti, through bhakti yoga, you will attain both Brahma Bhut as well as bhakti. See, you follow, say, purely Jnana Yoga, or say you follow purely Dhyan Yoga or whatever, you will only reach up to Brahma Bhut. Then from Brahma Bhut, you will have to then switch over to Parabhakti. And what happens if you do not switch over to Parabhakti when you have attained moksha? That also is declared in the Bhagavad Puran. It says that, O Lord, O lotus-eyed one, you are so wonderful that even those who have attained the supreme platform of Brahman, despite having performed great disciplines and austerities, if they do not take shelter of your lotus feet, they must fall down again from that position. Ye anya aravindaksha vimukta maninas toy ashtabhava vishuddha buddhaya aruya krichrena parampada tatah patantyadho aradritam yusman angraya. There are many people who believe they have attained Brahman, but because they do not engage in Parabhakti, which is offered to them, they fall back again into the cycle of birth and death. So all other paths lead to Brahman, and they think that is the goal. But after Brahman, Bhagavad Gita says, comes Parabhakti. And through Parabhakti, you will know God as He is and enter into His being from where there is no return. If regardless of the path you follow, you attain Brahman realization, if you attain moksha, and if you do not take to Parabhakti, then Krishna declares that you will fall down from that position of Brahma Bhut. You will fall down from that platform of moksha and again become involved in material activities. So, in the scriptures, there's also a verse which says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yada Haitukam. He says that indeed those who take the path of worshipping Krishna in the prescribed manner through Bhakti Yoga, naturally, effortlessly, you will find that both knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and at the same time devotion, detachment from the world, both of them will be yours. So what will happen on the path of Bhakti Yoga? On the path of Bhakti Yoga, you will get spiritual knowledge, you will get detachment, you will attain the platform of Brahma Bhut, you will attain Parabhakti. And through Parabhakti, you will attain the Supreme Lord, enter into his being from where there is no return. Naham veder, na tapasa, na danena, na cha ijjaya. Not through study of the Vedas, na tapasa, not by performing tapasya or austerities, na danena, not by giving in charity, na cha ijjaya, not by ritual worship, bhaktyatva ananya shakya aham evam vidu Arjuna. It is only through devotion that you shall know me as I am, says Krishna in the 11th chapter. So, again, just as a summary, I will describe Bhakti is to be intimately united with Krishna and to enter into his being from where there is no return. The path is through the worship of Krishna with form, because that is the way one becomes most intimately united with him. Worship without form is full of difficulties. It's full of sorrow. That path is full of sorrow, says Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says that if you learn to be completely absorbed in me, dedicate all your actions unto me, fill your mind and your heart with me, perform all things for me, then you will come to me without fail. I will deliver you from this cycle, this ocean of birth and death. But if you are not able to fix your mind on me, maybe you don't accept that Krishna is God, maybe you have the ability to fix your mind on Krishna, then engage in Bhakti Yoga, because through Bhakti Yoga, which is the imitation of pure Bhakti, as a discipline under the guidance of a spiritual teacher, you will not only attain the desire to be absorbed in Krishna, but also you will attain Brahma Bhut, or you will attain moksha, you will rise above the platform of Prakriti, rise beyond the gunas. And then, having attained Brahma Bhut, without any hankering, without any sorrow, with equal vision towards every living entity, you will get Parabhakti. And when you have Parabhakti, you will enter into the being of the Lord. You will understand the Lord, you will enter into the being of the Lord, from where there is no return. So with this, I will conclude today's session on Bhakti Yoga. Are there any questions?
Yes, Dr. Shantanu, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So before we actually take the questions for today, I would like to tell our viewers that all the sessions that are conducted are also available now to be read in a blog piece, like an article on speakingtree.in. I have posted the link in the comment section. So within a day of the session, the article will be uploaded on the site. So please go ahead, and you can also read the article as a word file on speakingtree.in. So that is up, Dr. Shantanu's profile. I've already pasted the link in the comments section. So yes, we'll start with the questions today, Dr. Shantanu. So our first question that one of our readers has asked is, if Bhakti Yoga seems like an imitation of Parabhakti, how Can an imitation be real? So, they're trying to ask that.
Imitation is never real. Imitation is not real. But by performing this imitation of pure bhakti, you will gain a desire to be engaged in Parabhakti. And if you are able to be engaged in Bhakti Yoga without interruption, as I've already declared from the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. You will rise beyond the three gunas. Sa gunan samatitayatan brahma bhuya kalpate. You will rise beyond the gunas and you will reach the platform of Brahma Bhuta.
Okay, great. We'll take the next question. I'll read out the question. What does Krishna mean by have transcendental faith in him? Transcendental faith in him in chapter 12.2. Either we have faith or we don't.
Can't understand this.
Okay, I'll read out the question again. Someone is asking, what does Krishna mean when in the Gita
What
he
does
says,
Krishna
mean? What does Krishna mean when he says have transcendental faith in him? Either we have faith or not. What does transcendental faith actually mean?
transcend the world, transcend your doubts, transcend all your thoughts and desires and attachments to the world, and have faith. So to transcend the world, to transcend your mind, to transcend everything that you have and have faith, that is called transcendental faith.
Okay. Great. Another question we have, Dr. Shantanu, is someone is asking that when it comes to any form of yoga or any form of devotional practice, do we have to follow a fixed number of hours that we should put in every day and a fixed hour of the day, as in, morning, evening, night, or it can be done anytime and in any number?
What is the meaning of discipline? The meaning of discipline means to follow a discipline means to have certain rules and regulations which you follow strictly. So there are many gurus in the world, but very few disciples, because a disciple is one who follows a discipline, and no one is willing to follow a discipline. Those who are not willing to follow a discipline, for them, forget about this path. This path is meant for those who are willing to follow a discipline. Whether it is Jnana Yoga, whether it is Dhyan Yoga, whether it is Bhakti Yoga, whether it is Karma Yoga, all of them are disciplines. Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Adi, Pancharatra, Vidim Vina, Aikantaki, Harer Bhakti, Utpate eva kalpate. When you are following, not following Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, Pancharatra, Bhagavad Gita, and you are acting and worshipping God according to your own whim and fancy, this is a nuisance to society. It is a nuisance to society. Worship of God without discipline, according to your own whim and fancy, is a nuisance to society. Very soon we will see people coming to immerse their different deities of Ganesha in the ocean. The great Lord Ganesha, who transcribed the Bhagavad Gita as Vyasadeva dictated it. But are they following any discipline? Most of them are, and I'm wonderfully glad and happy for it. But you will find that there are people who put film songs, who get drunk and dance before the deity.
Yes.
on the way to Chowpatty. This is a nuisance to society.
Yeah, of course.
You have to follow a discipline. If you can't follow a discipline, please don't engage in this kind of half-baked devotion.
Mm. Great. Thank you. So devotion is the key, just reiterating to our audience that devotion is the key to any form of devotion, any form of yoga, as Dr. Shantanu says. Dr. Shantanu, I think we'll take one last question. Is that, someone had asked us that what are the physical, of course, you've spoken about, how it brings you closer to God and, there is no turning back and things like that.
I can't
Physically,
understand this.
okay.
Slowly.
What I'm asking is you've mentioned that practicing bhakti yoga takes you closer to God, and there's no turning back from there. Physically, how does it help us? So someone had asked, what are the physical benefits of practicing this form of yoga for the body?
For the body,
Hmm.
first of all, it helps you to realize you're not the body. Because if your body is giving you trouble, if your body is giving you illness, if your body is giving you disease, then by engaging in bhakti, you will transcend the experiences of the body and you will be free from physical suffering. A healthy mind creates a healthy body. And a
Absolutely.
mind that is free of desires, which is focused on God, which is silent, which is quiet, has many, many physical benefits. And these perhaps I will cover in a separate talk on spirituality and physical health. But spirituality enhances your physical health as well. Many, many peer-reviewed scientific studies have demonstrated that people who are engaged in devotion, people who go to temples and churches, and who take religion seriously, and who are on the path of spirituality, such people have fewer visits to the doctor. They fall ill much less.
Yes.
They have a stronger immune system, and they are able to maintain a healthy, functional life for longer and live longer than most other people.
Thank you, Dr. Shantanu. So a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. This is something that I've personally experienced as well in the last few months that we have been in the midst of a raging pandemic. So a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. Thank you so much, Dr. Shantanu. I think we'll conclude the session today. And again, as I would like to reiterate to our audience or to all our viewers that please log on to the site. I have posted the link in the comment section to have to go through the session again in a blog form, in a piece written by Dr. Shantanu himself. So within 1 day of the session, the article will be uploaded on the site. For today's session, the article will be uploaded by tomorrow. Dr. Shantanu, do you want to, let us know, give us a little brief about what you will be covering next Thursday?
Next Thursday, I will proceed with the description of Bhakti Yoga and what is required for you to engage in Bhakti Yoga. What are the 9 processes of Bhakti? What are the 9 steps of attaining Bhakti? What are the different bhavas of Bhakti? There's quite a lot to be covered. So
Okay.
it depends on how much time I get and how quickly we cover it.
Okay. Great. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Shantanu. We're looking forward to the next session, all of us. And thank you so
Hari
much.
Om, Jai Shri
Hari
Krishna,
Om.
Hare Krishna.
See you next Thursday. Thank you.